Hi. Okay, chapter 16, part 2, everyone. Here we go. Miss Sipe is missing you guys. I love her story, though. I can't wait for you to hear it. Here we go. When they finally got home, Grandma had no sooner sent Ernie upstairs with the beer bottle containing the half-tooth to lie down with a double dose of pain reliever when the phone rang. Ma and Dad. Grandma quickly filled them in, Jeannie helping with the specifics of what had happened that Grandma wasn't so sure about. Did he take his eyes off the target? I mean, was he aiming a gun? He was, right? Grandma asked Jeannie, who stood attentively right beside her. Yeah, he wasn't aiming right, but the gun... No, he was aiming right, but the gun, I mean, his wrist, it just wasn't locked enough. His wrist wasn't... She looked at him. Locked? Jeannie nodded. Locked, she repeated to Mama, who then must have repeated it to Dad, who Jeannie figured must have taken the phone immediately, because then Grandma said, no, he's okay, Ernest. He'll be okay. We've got him situated right away. Safety first. Saved the 2 front teeth. Then she said, did Ernie ask to go shooting? Well, no, not directly. What? Then another pause, then a heavy sigh. It was a freak accident, but I knew the poor baby was scared. I could see it all over him. He said he didn't want to do it, but you know how it is with your father. That's when Dad started yelling. Jeannie couldn't make out what he was saying, but he was saying it loud. I know, son. Grandma kept repeating, I know. Grandpop, who had been hovering nervously around over Grandma's shoulder, now tapped her shoulder. Give it to me, Mary, please. Let me talk to him, please. Grandma gave him a cold stare, but he relented, saying, hold on, son. He passed Grandpop the phone. Ernest, I'm sorry, Grandpop said first thing. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He repeated this a few more times, but apparently Dad, at the mere sound of his father's voice, had given the phone back to Ma. Hello? Grandpop called into the phone. Ernest. Then his face dropped into disappointment. Oh, hey, Sheila. He waited while his daughter-in-law asked something. Yep, no problem. Hold on. Grandpop handed the phone back to Grandma, who then explained for the second time that she had already taken Ernie to the hospital, had him checked out, and splinted, and she would take him again to get it checked out, and there was no need for them to leave Jamaica. They had just gotten there. Even though Jeannie pretty much felt ready to go home at this point, it seemed like that wasn't going to happen. So Grandma fixed him a quick sandwich and left him in the kitchen while she disappeared into her bedroom. When she started flipping through the book that she was always flipping through, Grandpop retreated into his inside-out room, which was fine with Jeannie, as maybe he didn't want to be anywhere near him. It was like Jeannie was suddenly on an island, too. A deserted one. Maybe everybody in the house was. Later that day, Tess came to visit, all kinds of worried, wanting to see Ernie, but Grandma turned her away. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but he's kind of low right now, Grandma explained. Yeah, but can you just tell him I said hey? And I really hope he's okay, Tess said. He is, baby, he is okay, Grandma reassured her. I'll tell him. In addition to running interference, Grandma also gave Ernie aspirin to help with the pain. She made sure there was no extra swelling. The only thing he really needed would have been a TV with some fighting on it. And in fact, there was a TV, one that Ernie and Jeannie hadn't even bothered to watch. The one in the living room, which to Jeannie was just the land of the one missing wheel. Or the room with the door leading to Grandpop's inside-out room, Bird Murderville. Actually, there were 2 TVs. There was a big one that was like a piece of furniture, like a cabinet with a screen in it. There was a smaller television on top of it. The big one didn't work, and the smaller one was fuzzy, because Grandma and Grandpa didn't have cable. After he finished his sandwich, Jeannie went over to it and wiggled the antenna. Only one channel came in. Some kind of weird repeating infomercial with a woman selling letter openers that looked sort of like katana blades, which was not going to make Ernie feel better. Plus, there was no remote, so TV was out. Desperate to help Ernie get out somehow, Jeannie decided joining him up in the bedroom and imitating his ninja interpretations, leaping off the bed, kicking the air, pretending to chop the wall. Jeannie thought it might be pretty funny, but Ernie didn't laugh at all. Not until Jeannie tried to do a roundhouse kick and hit his foot on the dresser. Then Ernie started chuckling and shaking his head, but he threw a hand over his fist so that Jeannie couldn't see his teeth. Jeannie fell onto the bed, rubbing his foot. It felt like he was stung by a giant bee. It hurt? Ernie asked. Not much. How about your mouth? Not so bad anymore, he shrugged. Can I see? No, Ernie said, like there was no way Jeannie would change his mind. Or Jeannie could get him to change his mind. Still, come on, Ern, let me see. I won't laugh. For real. Ernie put up a fist. I swear, Jeannie, if you laugh, I won't. I promise. Ernie pulled his hand away. He opened his mouth just enough for Jeannie to see. At first, Jeannie did want to laugh, but not because it was funny. It wasn't funny at all. But because he was nervous. And sometimes when he was nervous and he didn't know what to say or do, he got the giggles. Anyone else think like that? Luckily, he held on to it, but it was pretty tough. The perfect picket fence now had a gate over the top, and one of those pickets was broken, jagged. It was a mess. Not so bad, however, is what Jeannie said. What are you, blind? I look crazy. Ernie fumed. I should have never shot that stupid thing. Jeannie just sat there quiet. Didn't really have anything to say. Plus, he was scared anything he'd say would make Ernie even madder. So he just listened to Ernie go on and on about how his face would never be the same, how Tess wouldn't like him anymore, how people in school would probably give him some stupid nickname like Tooth Lee. He'd probably get suspended for kicking their butts, even though he wasn't sure. He still wanted to take classes because people would have to see him this way. And to top it off, he was mad. I mean, he said he was pissed because his sunglasses had broken as a result of the fall. As if having their 3 teeth knocked out wasn't enough, he was pretty much planning to never be seen by anyone again, which didn't seem like a good plan to Jeannie. But that was how Ernie was talking, and Jeannie was now listening and listening until Ernie finally stopped. Then Ernie repeated, I should have never shot it. It didn't feel right. What do you mean it didn't feel right? Jeannie asked. You know how like it was with you and Samantha first? Like for some reason you didn't like her? You know there was something just about her? Yeah. Her teeth, Jeannie joked. Ernie didn't laugh, so Jeannie followed with, the difference is I was scared. Then he went for it. Ernie, you were scared too, weren't you? You were scared with the gun. Well, when the gun hit me in the face, of course, you would have been too. You would have been scared too. No, not that part. Before, when you were aiming, you were scared, right? Ernie didn't say anything. He just stared straight ahead, like he couldn't get enough of that blue dresser. Jeannie thought about how Grandpop told him that he was afraid of being outside. And even though he did all that practicing, the old man was still squeezing Jeannie's shoulder harder when they were in the woods. And Grandpop was even tougher than Ernie. So if he was scared, anybody could be scared. Realizing that he wasn't going to get an answer, Jeannie said, well, if you're okay, it's okay. Just as Grandma came waltzing into the room carrying a tray with an envelope and a bowl on it. It sure is okay, she said, sliding right into their conversation. She was always doing that, sneaky Grandma. We all get a little scared sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. She set the tray on the dresser. Then she held up a card. This is for your parents. Came in the mail for your birthday. I'm going to put it right here. She set it on the dresser between the red truck and the bottle holding Ernie's leftover tooth. Jeannie instantly thought how cool it would have been if Grandma pulled out one of those katana-looking letter openers and handed it over to Ernie, too. Like a small victory, wouldn't it have been? Instead, she brought the bowl over to him. Here, she cooed. It's chicken soup without the chicken or the noodles or the vegetables. Now, your gums are going to be real sensitive, so use this straw, she said. Ernie leaned forward, and he took a sip of what was broth, just broth. His eyes got all big all of a sudden, and Jeannie could tell he'd burned the back of his throat. Is it good? Grandma asked. Ernie caught his breath. Good. You were brave out there, Ernie, she said. That's in your blood. Your grandpa, he's a brave man, too, she clarified. He ain't perfect, but he's brave. He's been living his life trapped in the dark, getting on. Your daddy's brave, too. Fighting fires, risking his life to save other people. She paused and she picked up one of the medals off the blue dresser. It swung a purple ribbon, and your uncle was brave, too. This is what they gave him, what they gave Wood, Uncle Wood, when he was killed. She brought it over to Ernie. She said they call this a Purple Heart. It's very special. It's very special, Jeannie thought, like the broken truck. Ugh. Ernie covered his mouth. He said, but he died, so what's the point of giving it to him when he wasn't even here to see it? Jeannie could tell that Grandma was thinking about how to answer. It was a good question. I guess it was to remind us that he was brave, even though he was scared. Uncle Wood was scared? Jeannie asked, trying to push the thought of a fire truck further back in his brain. Back, behind the thought of Grandpop telling him about Uncle Wood whooping on that dude, Cake, to protect Dad. To Jeannie, Uncle Wood doesn't sound like a scared type. Oh, Lord, yes, she said. He was terrified. Before he went to Kuwait, he sent me a letter. I could barely read it because he cried all over the doggone thing. Ink was everywhere, smeared. She swallowed hard. He was so scared. You still have it? Ernie asked. The letter? Grandma turned away, but Jeannie saw her blinking hard, blinking away tears. She put the medal on the dresser, lining it up nice and neat. She turned back to them, her face so sad it made Jeannie's stomach hurt. Yeah, she said softly. I read it every single day. So, again, if you have any questions, you can add anything onto a Post-it if you have it, or a swatch of paper. I want you to think really hard about what Ernie and Jeannie are going through and what grandma is sharing with them, and that she's saying how Grandpop has been scared too, and Uncle Wood was scared before he went off to Kuwait. I'll be putting some questions in Schoolage here for you, and we're going to finish the other 2 chapters in the next few days. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day, and let me know how you're thinking about it through Schoology. Bye.